into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. Joe Rogan is waking up. You know, here's the great thing about Donald Trump. When he first ran for president, okay, everybody woke up, whether you liked him or not. Everybody started waking up. They were like, what's going on? They really started paying attention. It's finally spread to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan even woke up, but now he's woken up. Something that he said so many times on the podcast, which always used to get to me, still does, where he would say, Obama is the best president we've ever had. He's the greatest president we've ever had. Well, Joe has now changed his tune. Thank you, Donald Trump. Donald Trump has done so much in just 2 days after winning the election. He's woken up Joe Rogan. Hamas already wants to negotiate. Putin wants to negotiate. Zelensky wants to negotiate. Biden can finally get some uninterrupted sleep. Kamala gets to just drink. You know, he's done a lot for a lot of people. Let's start with this first clip. Then I'm going to play another clip. Let's get into it.
Because it probably sucks once you're in there, but it's probably fun to be able to go on the road. Like, he goes on the road like a comedian.
Right.
And he's able to kind of, you know, I bet once you get in there and you realize, oh, this is how it all works, and this is how many deals everybody has that are pre-existing, and if I touch this, this happens. If I touch that, that happens.
Yeah.
I bet it's probably not that fun.
Well, I bet it's probably fun. Well, first of all, Trump is almost 80 years old, right? He's been famous most of his life,
yeah, that's a
right?
good
Most
point.
of his adult life. And at this point in time, you know, he's not on The Apprentice anymore. How's he get his jollies? You know,
Right.
You gotta
have
he's,
fun.
He's performing when he goes out and he
Kills.
does those. He kills.
Kills.
He has bits.
He kills. People love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just funny man.
And here's the thing, and Andrew Sullivan, who's a writer from the UK, who's again not even he's voting for Kamala, but he lives in America. But he said the thing about Trump is, like, you can't say the rallies are not democratic. They're the most democratic thing. It might be. He goes, it's America in its foulest glory. Like, listen, it might be crass, and it might be certain parts of it might feel, you know, vulgar or whatever, but it is democratic to have people come out to speak directly to them and then have them vote for you. That is, in essence, democratic.
Well, you have the same thing on both sides, right?
Yeah.
You have low information tribal voters.
Right.
So you have low information tribal voters on the left who really do think Trump said there's very fine people on both sides and really do believe in the Russia hoax, really do believe in all that stuff. And then you have people on the other side that are like ready to shoot liberals.
That's right.
And they have their signs, their Trump signs, electrocuted in their front yard to make sure people don't steal them. And there's people that are off the rails tribally. When you have a group, and this is what I try to, if you make a group and anybody can join that group, it's going to be infiltrated by idiots.
Right.
100% of the time.
Yeah.
And then those people are going to do radical things in the name of your group, and then you have the Proud Boys.
Yes. And then you have the extremes. You have people that just drift towards the extremes. And the whole premise of political life in America should be to keep people from drifting to those crazy extremes.
100%. And the more you meet people in the middle, the less they're going to do that. The more you're reasonable, instead of attacking people in this crazy way where we know it's not true. I used to think Obama was the best president ever. Because Obama, I think, still to this day, the best statesman. He was the best example that you could take this guy who is from a single family. It's not like single mom.
Right.
He didn't grow up with great privilege. Obviously a brilliant guy. Obviously very smart, great orator. And, hey, we elected a black president. Maybe racial tensions can relax a little bit in this country. Realize anybody could rise based on the merit of what they can do and who they are and what they stand for. I was like, he's the best.
Right.
Finally, I felt really good about America when Obama was the president. Honestly, I wasn't paying attention to politics back then. Because I didn't understand he was one of the worst presidents ever in terms of going after whistleblowers. Like, that was a part of the Hope and Change website, was that they were going to provide safety to whistleblowers. That's not the case at all. It was one of the worst.
No, Obama was an extension in many ways of the national security policies of George W. Bush, which was a, kind of zero tolerance policy for whistleblowers. And it was the government has proprietary information and there was
two things that were passed during his administration that should terrify people. One of them, I think NDAA was passed during his administration. And the other one was the CIA's ability to use propaganda.
Right.
That the intelligence agencies are now legally allowed to lie and use propaganda and fake stories in the interest of national security.
Let's move on to the next clip. We got Joe Rogan and Dave Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
It's also, it's like, it's not even just that they're liars who are in the business of propaganda. It's that it's incoherent propaganda. Your propaganda doesn't even make sense. Like, if propaganda point A is true, then propaganda point B is impossible to be true.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm so happy that Trump won about, you know, is she just needed to lose. Like this, there's a certain line of that they crossed that you're like, we need to be in a country where that doesn't work. Like that can't work.
Well,
it's just too far.
Here's one of the most important precedents. You can't have someone that's running that didn't go through a primary.
Yep.
You have to at least go through and respect the process of allowing us to pick who our representative is. No one would have picked her. She didn't, when she was trying to run for president, Tulsi Gabbard nuked her out of orbit, and that was it for her. She dropped off a cliff, and that was done. And that's how it should have been until Biden picked her as his vice president. Get away from that. You should always have a primary. Like, if you really believe in the democratic process and if you really believe in the Democratic Party, you should want the best representative of your party as voted for by the population.
100%. And then
you can't have someone bypass that because you have a complete puppet.
100%. And then in addition to that, just think about how crazy this is. You're going to bypass the democratic process, and then you're running on democracy is on the ballot.
Right.
I mean, this is just too much.
Amazing.
It's too much. You want to like punch yourself in the face. Like, you can't do that to me.
It's
you
so
can't say
awesome.
that.
Well, they've been so used to doing it before. They had full, complete control of the narrative because they own the media, and they own the media for so long. They had the run of the roost for so long that they got cocky, and they didn't pay attention to the game as it was evolving. They're like a UFC 1 fighter that, you know, takes time out of the gym, then steps into 2024 and tries to compete against guys of today. Like, you missed the game. The game is way past where you were. And you guys are still doing goofy shit, like taking people out of context and not knowing that people are going to make YouTube clips showing what he actually said versus you. And it's going to undermine your credibility even more. Obama was my favorite president. He was the best spokesman other than Clinton of all time. Now I think he's a liar.
Yeah.
I look at that thing of him saying, he said there's verified people on both sides. That's not what he said. He said, I'm not talking about the KKK and white supremacists. They should be condemned.
It was so clear.
So
he made
clear.
it totally clear. And what he was saying was that there were very fine people on both sides of the arguments about tearing statues down.
Yes.
Like, he was saying, look, it's reasonable that there are some people who are like, no, this is our history, we want to keep it up. And then there's other people who are like, this represents slavery or something like that, we want to take it down. And then first off, it was clear when he said it that that's what he meant. And then they ask him a follow-up question. Are you saying the white supremacists are very fine people? He goes, no. How many times do I need to say that?
Yes.
No, I am not saying that any of the white supremacists. And like, that's not enough.
And then there was a sneaky thing that they used to do. They would ask him, will you disavow white supremacy? Will you disavow white supremacy? Like, what are you talking? First of all, that's like saying to someone, like, will you any crime that you would never do? Like, will you disavow murder? Like, of course I'll disavow murder. Oh, well, all of a sudden you're implicated in something we have to disavow murder. Like, you're connected somehow or another to murder now. Dave Smith, under any circumstances, do you disavow murder? You're like, I'm not murdering anybody. What the are you saying?
And after he had done it like maybe 100 times, no exaggeration, they'd go, now you still haven't disavowed white supremacy.
Yeah,
and he'd be like, no, I have.
Over and over again.
Now, but to your point, which I think...
Man, Joe is waking up, ladies and gentlemen. MAGA Joe. There's nothing better than MAGA Joe. You know, Elon talks about being dark MAGA. Joe is part of dark MAGA. Oh, it's lovely to see. Oh, I love to see it, man. Oh, man. I hope it keeps going. I hope it keeps going. He's woken up to Obama. There's a few more things for him to wake up to. It's all good. Give him time. It's Joe Rogan, for God's sakes. Give him time. You know, he helped Trump win the election. He helped. Not saying he did heavy lifting, but he helped. He definitely helped. So it's great to see. And in a way, Eddie Bravo, you say you watch my videos all the time. In a way, you helped Trump get in office because you were one of the first people to wake up Joe, and you've been pushing him ever since. So shout out to Eddie Bravo 100%. Let's get into, first off, I just want to touch on what Joe brought up in terms of Obama and propaganda. The Smith-Mundt Act. If you don't know what that is, go ahead and look that up. Now, you'll notice in 2012, there was an uptick. We all know about it. That's why people call Obama the divider in chief. It started when he first hopped on the scene, and if you didn't want to vote for the new black guy, you were racist. And that had never happened before, where if you didn't want to vote for someone, you were a racist person. that started. As soon as he got in office, he passed something. It already existed, but he brought it back, the Smith-Mundt Act, where you can actually show propaganda to the American people. It gave the ability to turn that lens, that powerful lens that all these organizations have had in the government, and point them at the American people. So that's something that happened. So that's why you notice that the uptick kept going up and up and up and up through Obama's entire presidency, because they were then allowed to do what they're doing. Look at the news, 2010, 08, 06. Look at it. And then look at the news 2012, 2014, 2016. It completely changed. Go check it out. I'm telling you. Anyway, let's jump over to Obama real quick, because Obama he doesn't understand how we got so divided.
Don't understand how we got so toxic and just so divided and so bitter. And I get why sometimes people just don't want to pay attention to it. And we all have friends like that. We have family members who just like, it's all a circus out there. I get that.
That's like Kamala Harris being like, I don't understand why there's so many illegal immigrants in this country. You did it. It was you. It was you and a bunch of other people, but you were the main thing, But this is the thing. A lot of people don't know. He's learned so much from Saul Alinsky. I bring up Saul Alinsky all the time. Rules for Radicals. I'm telling you, look up the book. Watch a YouTube video on it if you don't want to read the book. I'm telling you, it's on Audible. Go and take in that information. He is a community organizer, and this is what they do. This is one of the things they do. They cause an issue until it gets out of control. And then when they're out of their role as, in his case, president, they step back and they go, wow, how did all this happen? Oh, wow. And honestly, I'm going to move on to another Obama clip, but you're going to see that right now with Trump. Right now, they've started something with the border and illegal immigration, and they're like, what's the problem? There's no problem. What? There's no problem? What do you mean? No, there's no problem. And now Trump's in office, and he's going to deal with the problem they caused. And they're going to be like, wow, how did all this happen? I guess it's Trump's fault. Watch. That's what's going to happen next. But anyway, I had a bit going here. Now, how did it all get so toxic and divided? Maybe this is how.
Who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
Very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me. You had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
Who said that there were very fine people on both sides.
Oh, how did it happen? I wonder, how did we get so divided? I don't know, Barry. Barry, you should tell us how.
Service members who died in battle losers? When he calls our fellow citizens vermin, people make excuses for it. He's making a joke. He doesn't mean it. It's okay. Now, the attitude is it's okay as long as their side wins.
It's like he's telling you exactly what he's doing. It's okay as long as their side wins. You're causing division. You're demonizing a person, and you're like, oh, well, you know how they work. It's fine if they win. And you're doing the same thing, where all of this, what you're doing on stage right now, is fine as long as you win. But you lost. You lost, Obama. And now Joe thinks you're one of the worst presidents ever, as he should. And we're all very happy about that. You know? Happy days. No more hearing Joe say, Obama was the greatest president. One podcast, he's like, put his policies aside. He was the greatest president. It's like, no. Hey, whoa, hey. No, we don't put policies aside. No, they're right next to the president. That's how we judge if they're a good president. We don't go based on whether they were playing a saxophone. That's not what we do, okay? Anyway, guys, I just wanted to bring that to you really quick. Warms my heart to see Joe wake up in this way. Like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. And other than that, I'm out.